Welcome back to the Fat Boy Fantasy Football Podcast. It is I, the Fat Boy himself. We got two of my friends here today. Welcome back, Mason. We missed you the past couple
Hello.
weeks.
Yeah, been a little busy. Sorry.
You're a little quiet there, by the way, bud. And then we got
Oh,
Xavier
really?
here as well.
Hello, hello.
But how y'all doing today?
Chilling.
Yep, chilling as well.
Mason and I played in a work softball tournament yesterday. Uh, Out there for about 12 hours. Super exciting times, it felt like. I
Yep.
definitely did sleep another 12 hours myself.
I
So
wish I did.
I was tuckered out. But with that being said, what's y'all's biggest takeaways from week 5?
Cowboys suck.
I'm
49ers
say
rule.
Fucking
Um,
Israel.
Justin Fields and DJ Moore, I guess, are going up in the stocks.
they are them?
Uh,
Question marks.
and they are them. Vikings crap. Saints are good, I guess. I don't know. The
Well, with the
Steelers
Vikings,
defense. Steelers defense is crazy good. They keep winning me games week in and week
they
out.
also keep winning actual games because of the defense too.
Yeah. Uh, Lions throw the ball a lot.
A lot.
Uh,
Lions
Gardner
don't need no
Minshew.
sun god in order to be good, apparently.
Gardner
Hey,
Minshew. Gardner
is
Minshew will do fine,
is Justin Fields back?
right?
Is he
I mean,
back
last year it
yet?
took him 4 games before he could start doing anything. So,
That's very true.
Also, is
He
Joe Burrow
QB3
back?
last week, and yeah,
is Joe
Burrow
Burrow back?
too.
Is the bigger question. Did he
Please,
finally?
Burrow, please come back.
Did he
Please,
finally
please
figure it
come
out?
back.
Please.
And Trevor Lawrence looks like I guess he's back from his little slump or whatever.
It's because he
But
played 2 games in London instead of one, so that's why they beat the Bills. That's what I'm blaming it on.
Nice.
uh, Bijan Robinson is him.
We knew that coming in, though.
But I said something about no. Hold on. I hope Devon Achane is okay.
Hopefully
Yeah,
so.
his knee
And
hurting.
Giants suck. There's no Saquon Barkley's. There's nothing. There's nothing you can do. I tried to defend Daniel Jones. All my friends were like, Daniel Jones is trash. He wasn't worth that contract. I was like, yes, he is. He's a top 6 quarterback last year, and this year I'm like, yeah, guys, you're right. He sucks.
My bad. Thank you for
Yeah.
letting me see reality now.
Yeah, I was trying to be a Daniel Jones fan too, and been thoroughly disappointed. That's for
Yep.
sure. I mean, that whole team is fucking awful, but I mean, what can you do?
One thing that I was personally impressed with this week is, of course, the Saints defense putting a goose egg on the Patriots. Then also, the Broncos defense really is not what it was last year. If it's not one thing, it's another this year, it seems like, with my Broncos. No one can stop the 49ers, it seems like, at this point. Maybe Brock Purdy is actually the second coming of Tom Brady. Who knows? But it's kind of annoying to see the 49ers do this good with the seventh round pick at a quarterback, the last pick of the draft. And then Lamar Jackson has looked lost in the second half of games. I don't know if the teams are game planning against what they're doing and the Ravens just can't adjust, but something is going astray in Baltimore and something needs to get fixed in the second half of these games. I don't think they have scored in the last two second halves.
Well,
Damn.
nobody
If
could
I'm,
catch. He was hitting their hands, and they were dropping it.
they had what, 7, 8 drop passes last week?
Was Zay Flowers not catch anything?
Well, he
So he
was
had
dropping
11
everything. Him
targets.
and
Yeah,
Duvernay were just dropping passes left and right.
And then
nice.
Odell left with an injury. Can't
He
say I'm
came back though.
surprised.
He
I
was
hate
back in the
injuries.
fourth quarter. I saw him catching a couple passes.
Injuries make me sad.
And then the Vikings are just making up for lost time that they picked up on last year whenever they went 12-0 in these one possession games, and now they're 0-4 in these one possession games.
Yeah.
So it's just the universe getting its quote unquote lick back. So it's doing a drive by right now on the Vikings one possession games. But y'all got anything else about last week? Also, Puka Nakua and Cooper Cup can play nice with each other.
Yeah, look at that.
They can coexist. Who
Yeah.
knew?
So if you have both, feel free to start both as at least wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2 combo.
Yeah, just feel
If
free
you
to
want to
get yourself
diversify.
20 points, you know.
I mean, they each had 19.8 and 19.1 respectively. Nakua fell into the end zone. But between the two of them, they had 23 targets of Stafford's 37 pass attempts. So that is definitely a pass funnel, and I could see why the Rams are trying to trade away Van Jefferson at this point. So that's also news for another day. But with all that being said, um, we'll go ahead and go into our start, sit, stud, and bust segment. Who are we starting this week, boys? Who wants to go first?
I've got Jordan Addison. It's real simple. Justin Jefferson is out and they throw the ball a lot. And
So yeah,
you're gonna start Jordan Addison for the next 4 weeks, no matter
and
who
whenever you
they're
drafted
playing against.
Hawkinson, you're already starting him now, but now you feel even more confident in starting Hawkinson himself.
Yep. And
How
then
about you, Mason? Who are
yep.
you starting?
My start's gonna be Gabe Davis. He's been
Oh, Gabe Davis.
surprisingly fairly decent the past couple of weeks. He's been getting those touchdowns he needs. And I know that's
Hmm
not exactly I know that's not exactly um what's the word?
Not what you're hoping on, being touchdown
Yeah,
dependent.
like you don't want to be touchdown dependent, but I mean through and through, like he's doing the work.
Right.
He had 21 points week 2, 10 week 3, 15 week 4, and 23 week 5. So I mean, sit him in your flex. He's been viable. He's wide receiver 14 right now. So I know a lot of people, especially me, like we saw last year,
hmm
everybody wanted to draft Gabe Davis so high after that playoff stretch where he had, all those touchdowns, whatever. And then he was just a goose egg. He was just terrible last year.
Either he gets you 40 or he'd get you 2.
Yeah, and he gets you nothing. So right now he's looking good. And they're getting him involved and everything. And I mean the targets aren't amazing. You don't like to see that. But last game he had 8 targets. So his two biggest games he had 7 and 8 targets. So and they're obviously long throws. I mean
hmm
he had 100
There's
yards
a
in the
lot of
8
air
target game and
yards.
92 in the 7 target game. So you can't deny that the Bills are good, obviously. So I think you got to get him in your lineup.
Yeah, at this point, it's looking like he might be getting in. I wouldn't say a must start, but it's definitely hard to bench him with what he's been doing the past 4 weeks.
Yeah, I mean it's super hard to bench him, and even though and even so, Stephon Diggs is also producing. Like Stephon Diggs is still the wide receiver one he normally is as well.
Right.
So it's not like Gabe Davis is stealing it. Like they're both viable. So that's even better.
Right. Personally, my start of the week is Matt Stafford against Arizona, especially with bye week starting to come in these past couple of weeks. He's been playing on a borderline QB1 level. Of course, with them playing the Cardinals, it is a nice, juicy matchup to be able to throw up a lot of yards. Arizona's run defense has been surprisingly decent, but their passing game has been god awful, which is what we kind of expected out of the Cardinals at this point.
Right.
But if you have someone that you need at quarterback because you have a bye week, I would fire up Matt Stafford personally. But with that being said, who's your sit of the week, Xavier?
My sit is gonna be Deshaun Watson. They're going against the 49ers, and we saw how Dak Prescott did the other day, so yeah.
Is Dak Prescott a real quarterback at this point? I'm not sure.
He's going back to his ways. Better
Yeah,
watch
I
out.
mean, everyone before the game was bragging, like, "Oh, Dak's only throwing one pick." I was like, "Oh, y'all just jinxed this now."
Yeah, I like how they like made sure to mention that in the game, and then he goes and throws three.
Yeah, I mean, given one of them was kind of a BS interception where the DB just slightly gets his hand in there. The ball pops straight up in the air, and Fred Warner
Right.
ends up with the pick. But man, it's been looking real rough for the Cowboys that last game.
Yeah.
How about you, Mason? Who are you sitting this week?
I'm gonna have to sit Miles Sanders. I was big on him this year. I drafted him in a lot of leagues and whatnot. He's just not producing what I want. Um, I mean, he's just very like lackluster, and the whole team is pretty bad too. I mean, they're not winning any games. They're fully defeated, right? They haven't won a game yet.
Yeah, they're
The
0-5 right now.
Panthers, yeah. So it's kind of hard with that too. You're kind of stuck in that position. But I mean, he scored what last week? 1.2 points because he fumbled. He had only 32 yards on rushes. And I also am scared because now Chuba Hubbard is getting more touches. He's
Well,
gotten
also
slightly
too,
more
I feel like with
touches.
the Panthers, if they're not winning in the game, which we don't see very much happening this year,
Right.
I don't think he'll get the work that's needed because I definitely don't see him as that pass catching back.
He should be because I know he's capable of it, but he isn't getting it. And Miami is going to run them into the ground.
Yes, we might see them
Tyreek
score
Hill,
70 again.
yeah, Tyreek Hill is gonna go for 200 yards again, and Raheem Mustard is gonna get
200
80
yards.
80-yard touchdowns, and the game is gonna be 45-0 by the time the second half is starting. So
By the end of the first
uh,
quarter, what do you mean?
yeah, seriously. So sit that boy because it might not be very good.
My set of the week is kind of a similar stance at this point. I have Derrick Henry against Baltimore. It seems like this year, especially with the Titans, if they're losing, they're giving the ball to Tyjae Spears as a pass catching back. If they're winning, they're giving it to Derrick Henry. But even if they are close, I just don't see the Baltimore defense giving up a lot of rushing yards this week. I think my last week my sit was Damian Pierce against Atlanta. Uh, it's just a lot of these run defenses are putting the clamps on these top end running backs. Given I wouldn't call Damian Pierce quite a high end running back at this point, but a lot of these running backs are disappointing this year. So that zero RB strat that we were talking about at the beginning of the year is definitely looking nice and juicy for the next coming up year. Just a little foreshadowing. But who's your stud of the week, X?
Let me see. I have it in my notes. My stud is gonna be Jalen Hurts. They're gonna be going against the Jets. The Eagles are gonna be going against the Jets. And the Jets have 31, or sorry, they're the second most scored against to fantasy quarterbacks. And I just expect the Eagles to get up early and then run the ball pretty much. So that's it.
You're just hoping for a couple of tush pushes at this point. Some
Yep,
brotherly shoves.
just a couple 1 yard
Whatever we're calling the
goal
quarterback
line,
sneak play at this point.
just a couple 1 yard goal. He had one this past week, so just a tush push and then a throwing touchdown and a few good carries and throws, and there goes your 22, 24 points in
If
PPR.
if he had to take a Eagles wide receiver, do you take AJ Brown or Devonta Smith at this point?
I think you have to go AJ Brown.
So you should trade me Devontae Smith in the Dynasty League. Hurt. Anyways.
No.
Mason, who's your stud of the week?
My stud of the week is Sam Laporta. I love my boy Sam Laporta. I'm so glad I drafted him on my rookie drafts because he's tight end one right now. So obviously he should be starting for you if you have him. I hope you're not passing up on that opportunity. But I don't know what I mean. I think that Amon-Ra will be back, hopefully for a lot of my fantasy team sakes. But even then, I feel like he's kind of like their touchdown target. I mean, that's what did him well last week. I mean, I think he had two of his receptions were touchdown receptions, and then he had two more. But they seem to be like putting him in these kind of scenarios where they're looking to get him those touchdown targets and get him in the end zone and get him catching the ball near the end zone and the red zone. So, and I feel like Tampa Bay, they're playing Tampa Bay this coming week, and I feel like they're gonna be pretty good. I feel like against the receivers, but I feel like he might be a little sneaky. He might get himself some. So
Understandable. He's turning into a matchup mismatch at this point. He's almost looking like a young Travis Kelce.
right,
Given we'll see if he can keep this up. He did have a lot of injury history in college. So we're grateful that he's healthy right now, and we hope that he can keep it going. My stud of the week is I already know I talked about Matthew Stafford against Arizona, but my studs are Cup and Nakua because one of them's going to score, if not both, going to score at least 25 points. Kind of low hanging fruit, as I mentioned against the Cardinals, but I see one of these wide receivers, if not both of them, ending up as a wide receiver one, if not the wide receiver 1 and 2 on the week. So, with that being said, who's your bust?
I'm gonna do kind of what you did. I'm doing like the same team on both, but my bus is gonna be Amari Cooper. Simply just because they're going against the 49ers again.
Say
So
if Deshaun Watson don't have a good game, or Amari Cooper ain't having a good game.
no way.
How about you, Mason? Who you picking as your best?
I'm gonna go with George Kittle. I mean, he had a fantastic game last week, which obviously he had 3 touchdowns. All 3 of his receptions were for touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
So, obviously you're gonna score well on that. But he's been pretty lackluster. When he doesn't get the targets, or when he just doesn't really get thrown to.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't see. I think against Cleveland, I feel like they are gonna be. I feel like they're a little more rough and tough defense, and I feel like they're gonna pressure Brock Purdy a decent amount, and I'm not sure that he's gonna see what he needs to see. I mean, maybe he does. If he's getting too much pressure, he just dumps it off to him here and there. But
They just
I
have
think
so many
George
mouths
Kittle.
to feed San Fran.
Yeah,
It's
there is just so many people, and um, I don't know. I think, and I feel like that game. I still think the 49ers will win it, but I think that it's going to be one of those low scoring games. It's going to be like it's going to be rough and tough. I mean, they find their way. 49ers are amazing, so they find
I
their
still
way
think they
to
win by 2 possessions personally against the Browns.
probably. I just think it's going to be a little slower of a game.
Well, as long as Deshaun Watson doesn't throw 3 picks
Yeah, right.
and plus territory for the Niners, and it shouldn't be
Yeah.
that high scoring as it was last week. But
Yeah, that defense is obviously no joke.
yeah, it's a little nasty. Them linebackers are sideline. Both of them are sideline to sideline running or wide linebackers. Wow, just thinking offense all the time. And then my bust of the week is Austin Eckler against Dallas. With it, if he even plays this week, of course. With it being his first week back, they shut down Christian McCaffrey fairly well. I wouldn't say it's a complete shutdown because I don't think you can shut down CMC at this point to less than 10 fantasy points. But he only had 17. Of course, he had the touchdown, which basically there's 3 things you can rely on: death, taxes, and the CMC touchdown every week. But with that being said, I just don't think that the Chargers O line is going to be good enough to handle all of the Cowboys D line and their pass rushers as well. So if Eckler does have a decent game, it's going to be him getting 7, 8 receptions. But I just don't see him getting it done on the ground personally. But with that being said, that's that end of that segment. Then we're gonna go in and go ahead look ahead to week 6. And the first game we have up is going to be a massacre. It is the Broncos at the Chiefs on Thursday night. So we get to watch my team get destroyed on prime time on Prime TV. Any big takeaways for y'all? I think Travis Kelce's getting 25, 30 points this week.
Sky Moore, please give me some points for my dynasty team, please. I need it.
Please.
Please, I beg. This is the one defense to do it against.
I don't ask for much, but please
Just give me like 15 points. That's all I ask.
fall
Just,
into the end zone one time.
yeah.
What about you, X? You got anything to say about this game that hasn't been said already?
Maybe another 70-point game.
All right, you can leave the Zoom call now. We're not friends anymore. Anyways, we'll stop talking about my team. Next up, Baltimore, Tennessee. As I kind of mentioned, Derrick Henry's my bust of the week. But y'all got any big takeaways on this game? I would be surprised if Tannehill gets 5 points this week. Given you're not starting him in most scenarios, but I don't see
Yeah.
him getting double digits at all this week as a quarterback.
I mean, do they really throw the ball enough, anyways? Like as it is.
The most passing attempts he's had 34, 24, 25, 25, 34. So
I mean,
the
like
best
D Hop
finish he
just
had was
came
a
off the
QB
best
15.
game. D Hop just had the best game of this season. But I mean, he's been pretty lackluster. I feel like kind of like where you drafted him, he's not produced.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't really know. I don't know how to feel about that. Or you obviously can't start Tryon Burks. I mean, he hasn't even been there. And yeah, the whole Derrick Henry and Tajay Spears thing is kind of rough. So
And then Chig hasn't been the sleeper tight end that everyone expected either.
yeah, he's just like kind of middling, just you know, just like everybody else still.
Yeah, he's tight end 29 on the year so far. So
Yeah.
definitely someone that I have dropped in all of my leagues at this point.
I mean, I
But
like Zay Flowers a lot on the Baltimore side. I mean, he's proving enough to be a flex, um, but like a low end flex. I
mhm.
think there's a couple guys you could have got lucky with that you drafted late that have produced better. I mean that's really the only person you want to start other than the obvious Mark Andrews and Lamar Jackson starts.
Right. You got anything else to say about this game, X?
I think Baltimore should win.
Oh,
That's
they
pretty
should
much,
smash.
that's it. That's all I
Yeah,
have.
they definitely should win.
I don't think Hopkins will do the same thing he did.
They had 8 receptions for 140 yards last week, so I don't see that happening against this defense.
No.
Yeah.
Kyle Hamilton won't let that happen. But up next, Commanders and Falcons. Bijan's him, as we said. So, of course, starting him. Drake London's had a couple of decent games the past couple of weeks to be able to be a low-end flex play himself. Kyle Pitts, as expected, has kind of disappeared, but last week he finally had one decent game where he scored 15 points, 7 receptions for 87 yards. So maybe they're figuring out that they could actually use their tight end now.
They're using
We'll
both of
see.
them.
So we'll see how long this lasts.
I mean, Jono Smith and Kyle Pitts had together what, like 18 targets and 13 receptions together. So they're using their tight ends a bunch when they throw the ball out there.
Yeah, and then Scary Terry is still not that scary. Jahan Dotson hasn't been the wide receiver that we expected him to be this year. The Commanders have just been a letdown in general.
Yeah, that passing offense is just ugly.
Their entire offense is ugly. It's like even Brian Robinson is still almost a Q or RB2.
I mean, if you throw the ball 51 times last week, there 51 attempts, and your top receiver can't score 10 fantasy points. The second receiver can't even score 6 fantasy points, and then Curtis Samuel, of all fucking people, is the one that gets it.
I mean, Logan Thomas had a huge game last week.
Right, he had a decent game.
He had 9 receptions and 77 yards for a teddy.
Right. You just don't like seeing that I feel like the technically wide receiver 3 out there is the one that's getting all the work.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like starting Curtis Samuel. It's not fun.
It's not fun. But what about you, X? You got anything else to say on this?
I hope Jahan Dotson leaves with a touchdown.
Hopefully so.
Just give me 10 points. Do something.
I hope he
Throw him
just
the
leaves the
ball.
Commanders in general, but that's
Give
just
him a
me.
chance.
Put him in the game, coach. Put him in the game. I wouldn't think that this might actually be a decent game, but up next we have Vikings and the Bears.
The
Two
battle
one
of
and
mid.
four teams. Probably the NFC North in general is just a bunch of mid outside of the Lions. But besides that, I think Kirk Cousins has another 25, 30-point game this week. Justin Fields could put up 30, 40 points himself because both of these defenses are atrocious.
Yeah, hopefully he can throw against them again like he has been. He's been throwing the ball well. He showed that he can actually put the ball out there and put it in this guy's hands. And the Vikings are one team to do it too. So do it again, please.
Yeah,
Do a
and
lot of
then
Justin Fields as well.
outside of their game against Carolina, uh, Kirk Cousins has thrown at least 44 passes in every game besides the one against Carolina. So it's going to be a lot of passing in this game, I think.
Well, yeah, because
Um,
Carolina's the only team they won against.
yeah, it's kind of wild. It's kind of a foreign concept to run the ball at this point in Minnesota. But with all that being said, I think it's going to be a pass happy game between both teams. What about you, X? What you got to say about this?
No Justin Jefferson. Start Jordan Addison every week from here on
Fire him
out.
up. It's
Yeah.
Jordan Addison's season. Next up, Bengals and Seahawks. Might actually be a decent game. Seahawks are coming off a bye week. Joe Burrow looked like he was himself again. As Jamar Chase, he's always open. Call him Waffle House. But what you got to say about this game, X?
Um, I think I would take the over on Kenneth Walker for, sorry, my dog is crying over there. I'll take the over on Kenneth Walker for his rushing yards. If I was a betting man.
What's his line right now?
You know, I don't know, but I expect him to smash it. I don't care.
He said, "I don't." It could be 150 yards. I'm taking the over.
Um, if I were to guess, it's probably like 60, 69 or something.
Nice.
No pun intended. Let's see. Is it even up?
And then what? While you're looking for that, what do you got to say about this game, Mason?
64 and a half.
I could see him getting 80.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I don't know. I can't remember how good the Seahawks defense is. I mean, I know the Bengals are okay on defense. I feel like it's gonna be kind of almost like a shootout. I get that feeling it's gonna be decent scoring. So
Mhm.
I feel like Joe Burrow hopefully will have himself a good week. Jamar Chase as well. I hope T Higgins comes back and can play.
Well, against the only real looking offense they played this year, which is the Rams, the Seahawks allowed 30 points and had no sacks, no turnovers.
Yeah.
And then they played Detroit and had an interception and 2 fumble recoveries. Carolina, they had 3 sacks but allowed 27 points. And then they played the Giants. Woo! Where they had 11 sacks, allowed 3 points, and then a touchdown, 2 picks, and a fumble recovery.
Yeah. I
So.
mean, I think they could be had. They're not bad, but I think if with how it looked last week, if they can stay like that, they should have a good week.
Yeah, this is definitely a torchable defense, in my opinion. Just don't throw it to Tyreek Woolen inside. That's all you got to do. And then up next, Niners and Browns. We already kind of briefly talked about this game. I don't see this game being pretty. It's either going to be really gritty or it's going to be the Niners winning by 40. So
Yeah.
that's how I kind of feel about this game. Somehow Brock Purdy is a QB1. I was not big on him at the beginning of the year, but I might need to start eating crow at this point because I did not think he was him. And apparently he might be him, or it's just the Shanahan offense making him look great.
He's just extremely efficient. I mean, I think it's Shanahan, but I mean, he delivers that ball extremely well.
Right.
I mean, he puts it on guys in tight spaces, like hits them on the run. I mean, he makes Brandon Ayuk look amazing out there, and Brandon Ayuk is obviously an amazing route runner as well. But I mean, every
I mean,
catch,
PFF had him as a #1 receiver right now
yeah. I mean,
with his route running and ability to get open.
he looks good out there. Like,
I just think if Ayuk was in like the Vikings offense, which wouldn't even be a good fit for him because they already got Jefferson. If he was the wide receiver 1 somewhere, he would be a monster.
yeah,
But whenever you have Debo and Christian McCaffrey and Kittle, basically a top 5 at your position at every position next to you, it's kind of hard to
I mean, the thing
beat
is
that
too
guy.
though is if he's not scoring like the first or second touchdown, he's probably not gonna get very many points.
Right.
Just because I mean, it seems like I don't know. I know they've scored at least I think 30 points against everybody they played. So, they're blowing people out, and but if if you're blowing people out, you're just gonna run the ball with McCaffrey or
Jordan
Jordan
Mason or
or Elijah
Tyrion Davis
Mitchell,
Price.
whatever it is, and they're just gonna run the clock down eventually, and that's not gonna do anything for Ayuk. So
Right. And how about you, X? What you got to say about this?
Christian McCaffrey is gonna run through this defense.
Are you seeing a 200-yard game from McCaffrey this week, Bruin?
200?
God damn.
I'm gonna see what his line is at actually.
100
Probably, if I had to guess,
probably
83.
probably is probably capable. at that
It's not
point.
up.
It's not up yet.
Nope, they're scared.
Yeah, it's gonna be somewhere in the 80s, I believe.
Oh yeah, like 79. 78 and a
That's where I've
half.
been seeing it. We'll go ahead and go to the next game, Saints Texans. I don't see this being a pretty offensive game. It's two pretty capable defenses. A lot of the Saints wide receivers have been scary to start recently since they haven't been very efficient throwing the ball. Derek Carr is QB 32 on the season, if you didn't know, because I didn't know that. But I think it's two capable defenses. I think it's going to be a fairly low scoring game. If anyone's going to get any kind of decent fantasy value, I think it's just going to be Kamara this week. But what y'all say?
I think Houston's gonna torch him.
Oh,
Hot take.
hot take. Houston
think
dropping
they're-
a 30 bomb on him.
I think CJ Stroud's just gonna throw bombs. He's gonna put it in his guys' hands, and they're gonna score. I know this defense in New Orleans is kind of gritty, but I mean he like watching him, he looks really good. So
They run a lot of zone coverage in New Orleans. So if
I
you're able to find the
well,
gaps in the zone.
yeah, I feel like CJ Stroud has been finding the gaps. I feel like he's been putting his guys.
So do you see another 30, 40-point game from Nico Collins this week?
I wouldn't say that much, but I think you can get a nice 20 from.
So you're telling me I have a chance to win in my trash league this year? Heard.
I
If
think
Nico
he
Collins
does.
and Puka Nacua can both put up a good game, then I have a chance to win.
It kind of sucks. You kind of have to choose someone and just hope it works out for that offense every week. It's like, is it Nico Collins? Is it Tank Dell?
Is it Bobby Trees?
Dalton Schultz? Is it, you know?
It's diet 49ers, basically.
The zero.
Is it going to be Damian Pierce? Is it going to be Devin Singletary? But with all that being said, next game up, Colts Jags. I don't see Jonathan Taylor. Oh, well, there goes Mason's internet again. He will possibly be back with us later. I don't see Jonathan Taylor having a good game yet this week. I think they're still going to play him since they did give him that fat contract, which I was definitely surprised about. 3-year, 42 million to Zach Moss with his 30-point game last week is where it sounds like it should have been. But is Zach Moss him? Did the Colts pay the
Um,
wrong guy?
no.
Should you pay running backs in general?
Uh, yes, they're good people.
Yes, they're good people.
Um, Zach Moss doing real good. I don't know. Is he? I don't even know what's gonna happen. I don't know, but I'm excited to see because I have Zach Moss in Dynasty and
Mhm.
he crushed it for me this week, even though I really thought that he wasn't gonna do anything. There he goes scoring 35 points for me. And
Mhm.
I think he's just gonna be phased out for the next few games. So you can still, I think he's still like a okay if bye weeks
Well,
are
I
hitting me
think at
hard.
this point he's going to be a flex play
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
until Jonathan Taylor is fully
Till he has
back.
the breakout game. Yeah, till he has
Yeah.
a breakout game, then. But I think he's still good for like another game or two. You know?
Yeah, because they're going to phase him back in slowly, like kind of how Brees Hall was
Yeah.
this year. Because he missed the last 5 weeks last year, missed the first 4 weeks this year. I just think it's going to
So
take time for JT to come back.
let me go put Zach Moss on the trade block in my dynasty league and see if I can get a second.
And then besides that, on the Jaguars side, what are we looking at? Trevor Lawrence, still him?
Yes, Trevor Lawrence is him, and I'm not saying that because I just got him in dynasty, but yeah, I am.
Yeah. QB 17 on the year so far, but I don't see that lasting very long.
No, he should easily be a top 10 quarterback by the end of the year. He can sling it. He knows what he's doing. Um,
You taking
Christian
Calvin
Kirk,
Ridley or Christian Kirk this week?
I was gonna say this week, it's hard. That's hard to tell because the Colts defense isn't bad at all.
Mm-hmm. Out of saying Christian Kirk gets it off of volume, I see Calvin Ridley as their deep threat almost.
Yeah, like the other day, I saw people on X or Twitter, whatever the hell. I saw people on there like the first half, Calvin Ridley had absolutely nothing, and then in the second half, he freaking went off. And
Mhm.
so when the first half ended, people were like, "I told you about Calvin Ridley. I told you." And then I watched the rest of the game, and then those people just shut up. It was actually kind of crazy.
Then Evan Ingram may or may not do the Evan Ingram thing where he falls into the end zone. I just don't see it happening this week personally. But besides that, we have another massacre coming up, Dolphins and Panthers. Uh Jeff Wilson might be coming back this week. So developing news on that potentially. Uh I see another 50-point game coming out of the Dolphins at least. Tyreek Hill is going to score 40 million points. Jalen Waddle is going to fall into the end zone once, I believe. I think it's going to be 4 different people scoring a touchdown. Which four? I can't tell you. If I had to guess, it'd be Tyreek, Waddle, Mostert, and some random wide receiver. What about you?
Uh, yeah, Dolphins obviously I think win this by a landslide, and then Bryce Young's just having a little bit of a rough start. He's just having, as they say, growing pains.
Mm-hmm.
But I expect Adam Thielen to have a lot of targets, a lot of
Yeah.
receptions. Um, you're starting Adam Thielen at this point.
Yeah, he's almost a must start at this point, in
Yeah.
my opinion.
So, I mean, I guess that's the only good thing out of that offense. And then uh, you're starting up Raheem Mostert, especially.
Must start. It's
Yeah.
whenever A chains out or A
Oh
chan.
yeah. And even if he's in, do you think he's on a snap count maybe? Do you think he plays a little less because coach knows he's a
Well,
little banged up?
they're talking about he's possibly going to go to IR, so I don't think he has a
Oh my
chance to play
goodness.
this week at all.
Oh yeah. IR. I did say that last night. I forgot about that. But that's crazy.
Then with all that being said, uh, as we said, Mostert equals must start. But next up we have Raiders Patriots. Good God, the battle of mid. Who you I know you're not starting Josh Jacobs. Are you starting Ramondre Stevenson at this point? He's been
That's
having a rough
hard.
couple of weeks himself.
He's losing snaps to Zeke. He's losing receptions to Zeke. It's kind of weird, but if you have him in any format, you're kind of panicking.
Yeah, he's definitely having a rough go at it. And we don't know if this Patriots defense is even startable for any player. The only player that I couldn't even tell you a player I'd want to start outside of Mondre. I mean, Hunter Henry has been decent, but even last week he scored a big old fat 0. And then he had 2 great weeks to start out the season, but since then he's been kind of just middling at the best. And we got Mason back.
I'm
Welcome back,
back.
bud. Gotta love
Yep.
kittens, right?
Don't ever get them.
We're talking about the Raiders and Patriots game, and if he would start anybody on the Patriots offense.
No.
No.
No,
The only one I
no.
might consider starting is Hunter Henry at this point, but even then, he's had a rough
After
go
he
at
had a
it the past
dud.
3 weeks. Yeah. And then Raiders side, of course, is starting Devontae Adams. Impossible not to start him at this point. Jacoby Myers has been surprisingly good as a wide receiver 2 for the Raiders. Dropped a 20 bomb last week, or actually just last night.
He saved me one of my leagues.
And then Josh Jacobs has seemed to come alive now the past 2 weeks at least, scoring 28 and 21. So we'll see if he can keep that going. Next, we have Eagles Jets. I don't see this game being close personally. So, as Xavier said, start Jalen Hurts and have a couple of tush pushes fall your way, then you'll be good to go. AJ Brown or Devonta Smith, who would y'all rather have? I know Xavier said AJ Brown. What about you, Mason? Who would you start this week?
AJ Brown is the one that's been producing obviously a lot more. I mean, he's seen lots of targets, and Devonta Smith is not seeing the targets. He has 3 games with 5 targets. You don't like that.
And then last week had 1 reception for 6 yards.
Right. It wasn't good. It hasn't been good. Like he was okay the week before last week, but against Tampa and the Rams, like he was pretty awful. So you have to take AJ Brown. I mean, it's not really close right now because AJ Brown is just blowing him out of the water with production. But you can't give up on Devonta Smith either. I mean, that offense is so good.
Yeah, I wouldn't sell him either.
Yeah, no.
So all it takes is just one injury to a player, and that's that.
Yeah.
And then DeAndre Swift is looking like he's just taking all the backfield work at this point. He's had, huh?
He looks good.
Yeah, I don't know why the Lions weren't using him, but
yeah,
that's a story for another day.
Right.
The last 4 games, he's had at least 54% of the snap share. In the last 2, 63 and 62%. So he's almost phased out Kenny Gainwell at this point. On the Jets side, we got Breece Hall. Of course, I'm probably still starting him no matter who he's playing. Garrett Wilson, you just hope he can fall into the end zone. And outside of that, I'm probably not starting anybody on this team. Y'all say the same?
Yeah. I mean, even Garrett Wilson's hard, I feel like, to play. He's just that, like, his quarterback is terrible. It's the same situation.
Yeah, it's just he's a flex play at this point.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you could put him in a flex, but still rough. Still pretty rough. It's not fun to watch.
Right. Too much talent to not be used like that.
Right.
Up next, Rams Cardinals. As I said, the Rams are probably going to go off this week in the air. Cardinals side, Marquise Brown's a fantasy wide receiver 1 or borderline wide receiver 1 fantasy at this point. Last 3 weeks, he scored at least 16 points. Actually, last 4 weeks, he scored at least 16. So he's been pretty consistent with Josh Dobbs at quarterback. James Conner might be out for a couple weeks. Outside of that, I'm probably not starting anybody else unless I'm starting in a super flex league and I have a bye week. So I'm starting Josh Dobbs.
Um,
But what y'all say?
yeah, I mean, obviously Marcus Brown needs to be in your lineup. Cooper Cup and Puka Nacua are gonna do wonderful things.
Kyron Williams, I could
Um,
see getting
who do
his
we think?
himself.
Who do we think is the better running back or the easier one to start? Keontae Ingram or DeMercado?
I would probably go with D Mercado since he still had a 77% snap share last week after James Conner flew into the air and got hurt.
Right. I don't. Well, I guess Keontae Ingram was also out, so he didn't get any of the work because he wasn't in the game.
So he was a healthy. Oh, he was just hurt with his neck.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd probably. I wouldn't want to start either of them.
I mean, I wouldn't want to start him against probably LA, unless you just really have to.
I mean, if I'm stashing one, I'd probably still stash D Mercado though.
Yeah, I guess.
What about you, X? Who you stashing?
Uh, in deep format, I'm stashing, the backup to Kyron. What is his name? Kylan? What is it? I forgot his
Kyron
name.
Williams.
No,
We're
the
just talking
back,
about the Cardinals. Emery DeMercado or Keontae Ingram.
I would take the chance on DeMercado,
Yeah, that's only if you're in a deep format where you can't have any other kind of running backs.
but
But
I mean, DeMercado probably is going to be out there on waivers in any league, so
mhm.
that's the guy you would have to get. I feel like Keontae Ingram because I think he showed a little bit last year when James Conner was out. So he probably is on waivers. I feel like at least in
Well, they're both on waivers.
deeper
There's no way that
leagues.
anyone has them in like a
Oh yeah,
normal
no,
10,
not a
12-man
redraft,
league.
not a redraft at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, DiMercado, yeah, I guess is probably the better choice. He had some fantasy output, so you know.
But we got 3 games left. Next up, Lions, Buccaneers. This could be a big letdown game for the Lions running backs. That Buccaneers run defense is nasty. But outside of that, I think the pass catchers will be fine. Do we think that the Buccaneers have a chance against this Lions offense, though, to be able to stop it or even limit it?
I mean, I think so. I feel like they've been playing fairly decent. I mean, they're 3-1 for a reason, so
Mhm.
I feel like they're playing well. I can't remember who they've played.
Well, I think the only chance the Buccaneers have to win this game is if they hold the Lions under 20.
Yeah.
And they've played Minnesota, Chicago, Philly, and New Orleans is the 4 opponents the Buccaneers had, only losing to Philly.
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously Philly's great, so that was a hard one to win. But they've played. I mean, they haven't played. I guess against Minnesota. Like, I feel like that's a good offense. It should be. Um, Chicago, they were kind of eh.
They're still they just had a really
Yeah, they still are kind
fortunate
of
couple
eh.
of weeks, I would say.
And New Orleans too. I mean, I don't particularly think that their offense is extremely good. So,
Well, as I said, Derek Carr is QB 32 on the season for quarterbacks for fantasy.
right.
So,
I am a avid Derek Carr hater.
oh, we know. Don't you worry about it, sweetheart. Yeah. I don't think the Buccaneers have a chance if they don't hold the Lions under 20. Just because the offense, I don't think can score over 20 on this Lions defense.
Yeah,
But
if Amon-Ra sits out, you're gonna start Josh Reynolds. If any running back sits out, you're starting the other one. I mean, you're starting Sam Laporta no matter what.
I mean, you have to start David Montgomery.
So,
You can't leave him.
oh
in the
yeah,
lineup. If even if Jameer Gibbs comes back, you can't not start him now. Like he needs to be in your lineup. But yes, you have to realize that it may not be a very good output game for him
right.
unless he falls in the end zone when they get to the 1 yard line or something like that. So
And then I think that's pretty much it for this game. You're probably still starting Mike Evans and Chris Godwin
Oh, yeah.
for where you drafted them at. Mike Evans is wide receiver 15. Chris Godwin's wide receiver 45, but he did drop a 20-point game last week. I still think he is a mid flex play personally, but
Rashad White could have some this week. Have a little bit better of an output.
yeah. And then Sunday Night Football, Giants Bills massacre. Why are we watching this on prime time?
I didn't even realize when I chose Gabe Davis that they were playing the Giants, so that makes my pick feel a lot better. I feel a lot better about that now.
Yeah, Bills and Giants. I don't see this game even being a game.
Oh no. James Cook maybe has 30 runs.
Yeah, he's gonna just get fed well this week. Are you starting any of the Giants wide receivers?
No.
Maybe Wandale.
Maybe Wandale. But even then, he's not producing particularly well.
Yeah, because we're
I
starting Barkley.
You're starting
But
Darren
outs-
Waller. I mean, you have to start him. You
Yeah.
really have a choice. He had a good game last week, so
Unfortunately, you're
Um,
having to start him.
yeah, it's a rough situation in that, but 11 targets, you like to see that.
Right.
So if Barkley even comes back, man, I've got him on one league and I'm just waiting for him to come back.
hmm
So hopefully he does.
I believe he comes back this week.
I think so too.
And then that's about all we need to say because there's going to be a bloodbath in that game. And then last Chargers Cowboys on Monday night.
It's a hard one.
Yeah.
That should
I
be a
can,
high scoring affair, I think.
and if it is, I just think it's going to be a Keenan Allen game with Josh Palmer mixing in. But outside of that, Tony Pollard's going to get his. I think CeeDee Lamb's going to have a really big game since he got phased out last week, basically by the Niners.
I feel like you kind of need that from CeeDee Lamb because I mean he's wide receiver 16, but it's not looking very good.
Where teams are just game planning to phase out CeeDee Lamb.
I
And
don't know why they don't seem to get Brandon Cooks very involved. I mean, I feel like Brandon Cooks is a good wide receiver, especially to be a wide receiver too. But I mean, he's not doing anything. Even Michael Gallup is not really doing anything.
They're not throwing the ball.
I mean, that's true.
The issue is they're throwing the ball.
But
They're not throwing the ball right.
yeah,
That's what they ain't doing.
I don't know.
Yeah, they have Dak has yet to go over 300 yards this year, and he only has 6 touchdowns so far through 5 games. It's just not looking great for that man, Dak Prescott.
Yeah, I'm kind of I was going to like draft him in some leagues. I'm glad I took who I took instead of him at this point.
Yeah, it's rough to be a Cowboys fan for fantasy football sakes at least.
Right.
But I definitely see a big game coming Keenan Allen's way. And Eckler, as I said, I think he busts this week with it being his first week back against this defense.
And a bus
But
is
he
like
could just
15
get his
points.
from 10 receptions for 80 yards and a touchdown,
Right.
and then 10 rushes for 20 yards.
I mean, I think there's going to be some. We obviously know how good Justin Herbert's arm is, so I think there's going to be some deep balls.
Yeah. So I'm saying it's going to be a Keenan Allen and Josh Palmer game, I believe.
Yeah.
But that's it for the matchups. Y'all have anything else y'all want to say about this coming up week?
Nope, just ready for another week of football, man.
I'm
Yeah.
so glad football season's back. My
Yeah.
seasonal depression is gone. Whenever football is here, and then once the Super Bowl happens, I go back into the funk. I don't know what to talk about with people whenever I go out.
Teams, they're just rough this year. It's just looking bad all over.
Yeah. I mean, my God squad I thought I built is I thought I built the God squad and they're 3-2 and there's still 2 5-0 teams in that league. So I'm just like, it's fine. It's fine. I didn't want to compete this year anyways.
Yeah, one of the dynasty teams I had that I thought was pretty good, especially after I made a decent trade. They're 1-4. I barely won last week, and the guy I was playing had 2 people on bye week still in his lineup. So that shows you how my team's doing. Yeah, it's rough. So pray for me. I'm on the come up in one of them though. I 2 wins in a row this past 2 weeks.
I believe in you.
We're getting there.
You got this. You're a strong, independent woman. You don't need no man to hold you down.
Yep, I appreciate that.
But we hope you all have a great day. Tune in next week. As it is, Fat Boy Fantasy Football signing out.